Hey everybody, welcome to the Growing Auspicious Podcast, episode 339. I know it's been a little bit of time in between episodes. I've just been kind of getting settled and had some other stuff to attend to. So appreciate you guys coming back after a week or two off there. So this week we have Jade Nectar with us. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Good to be here. Cool.
Turn off the volume on my phone like a dumbass. How are you doing, Wes?
Oh, you're muted.
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Doing well. Everything is going great up here up north. Yeah, hope you guys are well as well. Big up to everybody in chat.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody in chat as well. Alrighty, thanks a lot for joining us this week there, Jeff. You have a pretty awesome grow and a bunch of really awesome projects that you've been working on. I've been following your work for quite a long time and kind of been playing tag to get you on the show, and it was nice to kind of to sync up with you this week and finally get you on. You do a lot of really cool work with PHTV and Landrace strains. If you guys aren't familiar with his work, check him out on Jade Nectar on Instagram or jadenectar.com, JADENECTAR.com. So tell us about yourself and about your work. You have quite an amazing farm there with quite a large variety of different cultivars from around the world. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Yeah, well, our place is in the Santa Cruz Mountains, which Santa Cruz Mountains just has a long history of psychedelic and cannabis history and lore. People aren't familiar, actually, the very original electric Kool-Aid acid test actually took place in Santa Cruz Mountains, actually about 5 minutes away from where I'm sitting right here. So it was like the prototype acid test, but the Grateful Dead did play there. It was like a little house party. It was actually the first Grateful Dead at the time. They were the Warlocks, but that happened. Also, Sam Skunkman had sacred seeds here in the 70s in Santa Cruz Mountains until he got sort of chased out of town by the law and he took off to Amsterdam. So that was cool stuff. And there's just always been a lot of really cool sort of hippie cannabis psychedelic activity in these hills. It's really, it's like a vortex of just psychedelic activity. But what I'm working on, so I guess I've always enjoyed cannabis since high school days. Went to lots of Grateful Dead concerts after high school. Just really loved that entire scene, but then kind of chilled out for a little bit on some of the cannabis stuff. I actually believe some of the propaganda that maybe I was actually frying my brain by consuming cannabis. So I actually laid off it for a little while, and then about 15 years ago, I actually got really sick, and then found out that turns out I had Lyme disease. And by that time, it was considered chronic Lyme disease. So I was supposed to have Lyme disease for the rest of my life and just kind of limp to the finish line. I wasn't willing to accept that. No conventional medicine was helping. So my hippy dippy doctor, who actually was a doctor for Jerry Garcia at one point, he recommended that I get into cannabis again as medicine. And sure enough, I started consuming a lot of cannabis, and it relieved my symptoms. So then I started growing cannabis myself because cannabis laws had really changed here in Santa Cruz. This was around 2011. And so started growing it myself, and then I started eating the leaves while I was working with my plants. And I noticed that I really liked the effect that I was getting from eating the leaves. But then I was like, man, should I be eating these? could this be poisoning me? I better like Google it and make sure I'm allowed to, or that I can eat the leaves safely. And then it turns out I came across Dr. Courtney, who's like the cannabis juicing guy who was really promoting that. And I was like, oh, cool. It's not only semi good for you, it's really kind of this elixir for people with autoimmune diseases and Lyme disease. So I ended up just drinking raw cannabis juice every day for like a year and a half. And I can't prove it scientifically, but I'm like free of Lyme disease now. And before, when I had really bad Lyme, yeah, it was hard for me to even walk down to my mailbox and back without getting winded. Now I can work 12, 16-hour days, 7 days a week, farming, just being really active. So I would consider myself completely cured. And that's kind of unheard of when you have late stage chronic Lyme. So when that happened, it was one of these like, oh my God, I gotta like tell people about this. So I started sharing it with friends, and I had a friend with chronic back pain, and then someone else with migraines and stuff. And I started making cannabis juice cubes, frozen juice cubes for them, and they started consuming those, and they're like, oh my God, this works. I'm like, I know, it's amazing. So fast forward, then had a medical collective here in Santa Cruz, and then Prop 64 for folks not in California. That was our recreational legalization, whatever you call it, initiative, or whatever you call it when the people vote on it. And then everything, sure, it's legal, but we've kind of been chasing our tail ever since then. There's a lot of really messed up things with Prop 64. It's kind of killed a lot of the spirit of the sort of hippie homesteader, earth-loving cannabis farmers. But I'm still trying to live that spirit. And so what we're doing is, one of our big things is we have a Landrace botanical garden. We took over an old Boy Scout camp in Boulder Creek, which is a really, for folks who don't know, Boulder Creek, it's in the Santa Cruz Mountains, but it's like going in a time warp. It's kind of unbelievable that Silicon Valley is right on the other side of the hill, but Boulder Creek is like sort of like motorcycle gangs, lumberjacks. It's a little tweaky, but it's like it feels like some Rumpelstiltskin time warp thing going there, but there's just this beautiful, pristine redwood wilderness. So anyway, we have a ex-Boy Scout camp there that we're developing into a wellness retreat center for cannabis and other psychedelic plants and fungi. And kind of highlight right now is we're doing this Landrace botanical garden. So we have about 300 plants right now with about 50 different Landrace varieties going. And each year we do a different sort of region of the planet that we feature in this garden. And it's just so cool to see, like Cambodian, Thai, Laos. We're doing a bunch of Iranian and old Pakistani. Let's see what else. And South, so we're doing a lot of Mexican, the old school Mexicans, and some Colombians and Jamaican varieties this year. And just each one's so unique and cool. I mean, we got a lot of we've had like 7 herms. It's kind of heartbreaking when you're big, huge, 10-foot, 12-foot tall, super healthy plant starts shooting pollen sacs, but you just gotta cut them down. It's part of the game. But yeah.
And it always sucks too, because a lot of the land races, especially the Thai stuff, it'll be like week 4, it'll start throwing male branches like randomly on the plant too, which is like, something you don't quite see as much in the more stabilized stuff. You might get some manners from stress, but you don't see like a whole branch just suddenly be male, which I've seen a lot more in the Landrace stuff. I don't
Yeah,
know if you're open to
and the thing is, it's usually at the tippy top. So, and these are 12-foot tall plants, so we have to get on orchard ladders and go inspect our tops. And right now we're doing it like every 3 days. We have to get up on the ladder and start going through all the branches and and sometimes it's just one stealth branch that's gone male, or perm or whatever you call it. But so far, none of the pollen sacs have opened or anything. So I think we're still good there. It's not devastating if, you know, we get a little seed here and there, but I'm also doing, trying to do some seed increases with the plants. So that would be the tragic thing, is if we get herm pollen flying around, then all of a sudden, you know, that Vietnam black that I'm trying to do a seed backup for, all of a sudden those seeds become questionable. Like maybe it's got some Cambodian pollen in there. So but yeah, that's what we're working on. And then the cool thing, how we've made it sort of economically viable though, to be growing all these crazy strains that no dispensary would ever want to carry right now, because they're all like 12 to 15% THC, and they're airy and larvae and don't look anything like vanity modern weed. But we do a tincture company. That's our main thing. Jade Nectar, where we do olive oil infused tinctures, like old school 1,000-year-old technique. So we're able to take, last year, for instance, we grew a bunch of African varieties. So we had 15 different African varieties, but we're able to take all that African flower, and some of it may not have, you know, even totally finished and everything. But when we throw it in the tincture, you're getting 15 different African varieties at different stages of flower. So the actual tincture is the most full spectrum, all you can eat buffet of different kinds of cannabinoids and terpenes and everything. And yeah, like the African sativa tincture we have right now, it's you're kind of consuming the entire continent of Africa in each drop of this tincture. And it's pretty trippy, racy, a lot of THCV in there too. Yeah, good stuff. I'm gonna try turning on a light real quick, because am I getting really dark here?
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I mean, you're a little bit dark on the one side, but it's not a big deal. It's up to you.
Okay. Yeah, it may just be my video that's looking, I look like granular shadow guy.
No worries. What were some of the different traits that you found with the African stuff? I've known, I traveled a little bit around South Africa and Zimbabwe and on the border there, especially with Mozambique, up in the hills there, and had a chance to travel around and grow quite a bit of stuff there. And then, what were some of the cool things that you found? I really liked, especially up in Nyanga, they had some incredible stuff that was super high in pinene. And it just smelled like pine sol almost. And the high from it was just this like super amazing sativa high where you could like keep smoking it and you kind of just kept getting higher. There wasn't really like a ceiling with it, which I haven't had that kind of feeling in like so long.
Yeah, and that's what so a lot of the terps are that really some people describe it as like carrot, that antiseptic sort of clean, real clean carrot and parsnip, and a lot of almost parsley, like these bright herbal savory herb terps going on. So yeah, we grew a few South Africans. We did Transkei, Drakensberg. We did some real deal old school Durban, but unfortunately a rat destroyed both of our Durbans. for some reason. I guess the rat was really into Durban. It just took out those two plants, so we never got. But actually, the Mozambique was phenomenal, and so one, just growing the plant, just the look of them with those long lacy leaves, they just look wild. Like they kind of have that vibe of like wildebeests and zebras and something just like wild Africa. They just have that vibe. But then yeah, those terps, and a lot of it's kind of it's like old school super silver haze, like Mr. Nice super silver haze kind of has that sort of frankincense, weird incensey. It's hard to put it just smells like hazy sativas, and the African sativas just really have a lot of them have that quality. But also another one that stood out was the Lesotho, which I was always calling it Lesotho because that's how it's spelled, but Lesotho, which it's kind of weird. I'm learning all this like world and geographic history through cannabis, because once we start growing it, I'm like, wow, where is this place? Who are these people who are growing it? And found out like Lesotho is a country that's totally encapsulated inside South Africa, but it's at super high elevation, and I guess that's why it never got conquered or whatever by because the terrain was so challenging for whoever to get up there. So anyway, so they have their own country within South Africa, but then they hold most of the water that then feeds South Africa, so that gives them some sort of leverage and keeps things in balance and everything. But yeah, the Lesotho was probably the brightest, most like sagey, parsley, savory herb I think I've ever smelled. But the bud structure itself, I mean, if you showed that to someone who's used to smoking, you know, like cookies or cake, or they would just like laugh at it. Like, it doesn't even look like weed. It's just like this larfy, fluffy little wispy buds. But as soon as you fire it up, it's just, yeah, it's just a super clear, euphoric, creative high, but it's also, but you can really focus, and just very clear is I think the word. But like I play around with guitar and stuff like that, and just find myself like I can get into like trance mode and really focus and sort of innovate when in that mode. So the Lesotho was also had the Congolese Pointe Noire, which was just amazing. The Moulanier, which is from Malawi, it's a region of Malawi, that was actually pretty dense buds, but I don't think they were hybrids at all. It was just a totally unique bud structure. But the terps on those is like a sour cherry with like a caramel finish. Really, actually, I think oh, you know what? I think I have some of these jars. It's the secret. Let me turn on the light, see if I can get better lighting going here. All right. Is this even weirder? The lighting?
It's definitely different.
Looks like a 50s photo that got like
Yeah.
a little bit sun exposed.
Yeah. It looks like all my childhood photos, though. 100%. Yeah. Like,
You know what?
overexposed from like the 70s. Like, yeah.
Or like there's like a nuclear bomb was going off outside your window kind of thing. Like a Fallout 3 vibe.
Is that any better?
Yeah, you're still in Technicolor for some reason, but yes.
I don't know what's going on. This is supposedly a pretty cool Dell laptop, but the camera is just weird on it. I don't know what's going on. Sorry about that.
Oh, dude, it's fine. It's bothering you far more than it's bothering us. It's kind of
Okay.
funny.
Absolutely.
Let's trip out on my pixels. But anyway, here's the Lesotho.
Let me spotlight you here.
Just, I don't know if you can
Okay.
see.
Oh,
very-
wow. That's cool looking.
Yeah, but it's just really
Very different structure.
hair. Yeah. And I wish we had like smeller vision, on this so you could smell it, but just yeah. So anyway, now it almost, it has a pine and cedar thing going on with it now. Now that it's cured out, some of the like the parsley kind of went away, and now it's like all pine and cedar. And then and by the way, folks who are always chasing higher THC, I've just found instead of super crazy high THC, it's about a diverse head stash. So you can just mix it up with like 30 different varieties.
Yeah.
You can keep your stone nice and fresh and interesting all the time. And these are only like 15% THC, but yeah, they get you so crazy stone, but they spin off in totally different directions, each one. But this is the Malanye, which is a Malawi region.
What does that smell like?
Well, now it's getting, it still has this like sweet cherry, but with like caramel, like this really interesting like caramel finish. But yeah, so those were the highlight. Yeah, I'm gonna turn this light back off because if you hear, I'm gonna have to well,
No worries. It's all good.
is that any better?
Yeah, it's fine.
Ever.
Either one's fine.
I think it's better. To be honest with you, but
All right, this has more of the dark.
in a way, it was never bad to begin with, anyways. But
All right, dark man cave vibe going on. But yeah, the Africans were definitely cool. This year got tons of Southeast Asian, like Laos, Burma, or Myanmar. Lots of Thai, Cambodian. By the way, the Cambodians are looking amazing. I have 3 varieties from Cambodia. Oh, and I had one that hermed out really early, and I kept it around at a different location just to see what happened because it was already starting to flower. And so those flowers are now pretty far along, and they just smell like you just opened a tangerine, like just as you're peeling a tangerine. It's like the sweetest, brightest citrus tangerine terp I've ever smelled. It's elegant. It's not like cheap candy. It's just this absolutely elegant, intoxicating tangerine thing going on. So anyway, those are exciting. But by the way, the real big surprise were Philippines, growing 5 different Philippine varieties. There's one called Lagitan, I believe. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. And I thought it was a village or something, but it turns out Lagitan means sticky. But it probably has the most narrow sativa leaves I've ever seen. And it's already starting to flower. So may actually get them done by Thanksgiving. We'll see.
Awesome. Is there any particularly unique traits that you found in any of the males with your last couple of rounds, especially with any of the landrace? Sometimes they can be quite a bit different.
Yeah, the sativa landrace tend to just throw out very small little clusters of male flowers. None of this like Afghan giant swarms of male flowers, that are because I keep my males in a greenhouse, so there's no wind and such. So the indica flowers, male flowers, will just like dump all over the plant itself. I mean, like the leaves are covered in pollen, and it's just like just dumping pollen all over itself, all over the floor, all everything. But these landrace sativas, these equatorial tropical sativas, just very like each long branch may just have like 10 little male flowers on it. And I talked to another person who's been around Southeast Asia and Africa as well, and seen a lot of landrace. And he said some of these plants will live like 4 or 5 years, and they'll just throw out, at different times of year, they'll throw out one branch that's got some female flowers, and then they'll throw out another branch with some male pollinate itself. It'll just kick out like 10 seeds, and then it would just go back into vegging. And they'll actually live like 5 years or longer just doing that. So
Is that the Reunion Island one that you're talking about, or just in general with equatorial?
oh, the Zamal.
Yeah, them all. Yeah, I have some
Yeah, I played.
all those.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I played around with that. And then have you grown that at all?
Yeah, I grew around a bit in Zim because I figured it was pretty similar latitude, but we didn't get any with the perennial traits.
Oh, okay. Did it have a really like side branchy structure?
Yeah, it was very like candelabra-y, very like reminded me a lot of like when I grew the island sweet skunk. It was very like horizontal candelabra with like little clusters of nug, kind of vertically off of that.
Yeah, that's sounds, because sometimes you don't know 100% exactly. But yeah, that's what it had, a really interesting like horizontal sort of octopus structure going on. And I ended up crossing that with an Ethiopian plant. And there's actually a video of it somewhere on our Instagram, but the branches on that cross were like rubber. Like you could just shake that plant violently with buds on it and no chance of a branch breaking. And you could flop the branches up and down and everything. They were just like, it was like it was made out of rubber. It was, and then the buds, when it was pretty much, the flowers were totally done, 95% of the leaves had fallen off. So it was just solid buds on a branch, and all the leaves had just fallen on the ground. So it de-leafed itself. And we just hung the plant. We didn't even have to pull any leaves off it. It was actually, man, I want to grow that plant again. It was so cool.
That's a great trait, man. That's a good one to stabilize.
Oh yeah, like the unbreakable branches. Yeah, that would be. By the way, we're dealing with that. For some reason this year, we're getting a lot of wind. Plus we just had that hurricane that came up Southern California. So up in Santa Cruz, we did get some, it was probably like 20-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Yeah, so when you have big, 12-foot plants, luckily we didn't have flowers on them, but We got just like 2 or 3 broken branches, because but yeah, that's a trait with the Landrace, especially, is tend to be not self-supporting, but they're just a lot strong. You don't have to support every individual cola, like some of these modern polyhybrids that are like so high maintenance. But yeah, we do the way we tie our plants is we just take this organic hemp baking twine and we just kind of lasso around the plant. We have 4 stakes all around the plant and we just keep lassoing around it. And then the plant sort of moves within, and it's kind of like a self-supporting safety net. So we've had pretty good success doing that. And we found the metal cage thing. Some people do the metal cage, but when you get high wind, because it's so rigid, you can actually snap branches on the metal cage. So, but yeah, it's the eternal struggle trying to find out, once you get big plants, how to not lose your branches. But
I've had really good luck too, kind of doing a hybrid of that, putting a couple of posts around it and then running kind of twine around that. And then off of that twine running like the basic netting. This way
yeah,
the whole thing can kind of jiggle and wiggle just like you're saying.
nice. Have you found any netting that is not nylon?
I haven't found any that's not nylon, but I just cut the plants and reuse it. Like you can reuse that for years and years and years and years, and hey, then I don't feel so bad about it.
Oh, okay.
But there are cloth ones. I know one of the places I was at where they had cloth, it was like, I don't know, almost like a big fishnet kind of thing. But there was,
Somebody
they
was
were maybe
making
4 inch or 5 inch.
a bungee one.
Oh yeah, I remember that. They had the
I can't
bungee cord
remember
one.
who the hell was making that, but somebody was making a bungee one, and they were only like 4x4s, but it was kind of cool that way.
Yeah. That's why I always have the paranoia of like chunks of nylon ending up in my flour. Then I'm like smoking nylon fibers or something. So even though it's probably, if you're careful, you can avoid that. But yeah, that would be like, if there was a organic hemp food grade like baker's twine netting, that would be like the holy grail of organic hippy dippy supporting systems for your your weed plants.
Maybe coat it in like beeswax or something just to keep the mold off or something like that
Yeah,
from the twine.
that's true. Yeah, the twine, we ditch it, at the end of the year, we just cut it and ditch it, or throw it in the compost heap. But
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, that works. What else here? I got my other question. So you had a really interesting post the other day about direct to consumer legislation. And I thought it'd be interesting if you wanted to mention that because it's something that you know quite a bit about and are passionate about.
well, yeah, and actually just had a really good Zoom meeting today with another group in California that's very pro craft farmer. And it seems like 2023, all the craft farmers who are into the homesteader lifestyle and have been doing this for a while, and we're all it seems like everyone is having the same realization this year, 2023, like, fuck, if things don't change here, we're going to be looking at an extinction event for small craft farmers. And we're also sort of morally, ethically just because we believe in this plant so much and that this plant could really actually help make the world a better place. If it's, and that small craft farming, when it's done, you know, really well with good intentions, could be like this new model for how agriculture could be done. Like we could actually escape this whole industrial agriculture complex and go back to a more homesteady, localized, decentralized agriculture system, you know, for everything. And that cannabis had that opportunity of a new, fresh, clean model where we could actually demonstrate that model and how successful it could be. So there's just preserving a livelihood, a culture, legacy, and all that, but then also fighting for the bigger picture of just a more sustainable, mindful, regenerative agricultural system in general. It seems a noble cause and worth fighting for, but the reality is that's not where things are trending right now, at least here in California. It is like the operation corporate consolidation is on big time. And the scary thing is, so like with our company, Jade Nectar, where we do these tinctures, we only work with about 25 local dispensaries. And sort of our little niche, and by the way, we're actually profitable. We've sort of learned that the name of the game, and I don't want to preach or anything like that, but for folks in other states who are just getting into cannabis and legal cannabis, there's this allure of, oh, I'm going to build an empire and I'm going to get big and huge, and then I'll be on Cannabis Business Magazine and I'm just going to be this like kingpin, like, yeah, going to build your empire. And we've just seen it over and over that there seems to be this cannabis karma that if you're in it to elevate yourself and about power and sort of elevating yourself and exploiting the plant to get there, there seems to be this universal law that cannabis is not stoked on that. And so we're seeing, it's been a lot of people or a lot of organizations in California, like lots of the big players are eating shit. And now they're all just suing each other, and all the investors are suing each other. And it's just this toxic, gnarly thing that is the antithesis of the cannabis experience. Like, hey, let's all get along. Let's let's be friends. Let's live a more harmonious, peaceful lifestyle. And I'm not talking like listening, just being a bunch of wussies, but being mindful, you know, being mindful and kind and caring and peaceful doesn't mean you're a wimp. But well, anyway, so what I'm getting at is the small craft farmers, I think universally, or at least here in California, are all really waking up to, okay, we got to change the system here because this is just not working for anyone. And even in the dispensaries, people are claiming, like dispensary owners are saying, we need the taxes dropped because no one wants to shop at dispensaries anymore because of the taxes. But the customer surveys that I read are, the customers are saying we don't want to shop at dispensaries anymore because the weed sucks. Because it's all this like industrial factory weed. So anyway, enough of that little rant. So what we're, myself and starting to connect with others on, is the concept of, and it's not a mind-blowing concept, but for some reason we kind of got brainwashed into thinking this wasn't possible, but it's just the small farmers being able to ship their cannabis products directly to consumers within the state of California. So there are shipping companies that do not cross state lines. So We're not talking FedEx, US Postal Service, UPS. Not them, but there's, for example, there's a Golden State Overnight here in California, which is a California only shipper. So they don't cross state lines. They actually, Golden State Overnight is the shipping company who, and by the way, if folks aren't aware of this, in California, right now, small wineries have been shipping bottles of wine directly to consumers' houses since 1985 here in California. Also, craft breweries are allowed to ship their craft beer directly to customers' homes here in California. Also, distilled spirits, so hard alcohol, craft distilled spirits are allowed to ship directly to people's houses. Also, Amazon Pharmacy, they are allowed to ship Xanax, like all Schedule 2 and some Schedule 3 prescription drugs are allowed to be shipped directly to your house. And tobacco products are allowed to be shipped directly to your house. And they're all shipped with just using a shipper that does age and ID verification. So when they deliver, they just are required to check your ID, make sure it's you, and then you sign for it, and it's done. So this isn't some wild reinvent, like crazy concept. It turns out, oh, and by the way, also hemp and Delta 8 and all the weird synthetic crappy cannabinoids, they'll probably get banned when the new farm bill hits. But right now, those are allowed to be shipped directly to your house in California. So it almost starts to become, oh my God, cannabis, legal, licensed, lab tested cannabis is like the only thing you're not allowed to ship to people's houses in California. This is crazy. How is this not allowed? And so we're just going with that logic that, one, it's good to actually preserve small family, independent homesteader farms. That was the whole logic for small wineries being able to ship bottles of wine because, yeah, like grocery stores and liquor stores don't carry esoteric craft wines. So how do you sell to customers? And the result of that, though, by throwing that lifeline to craft wineries, is California now has this massively thriving craft boutique wine industry that now is allowed to ship all over the nation. And it's a huge industry. In some ways, it's maybe gotten a little too big and out of hand, but that logic and that principle has already been debated and has already won that, yes, it's good to have small, independent, decentralized, small farmers and craft operators. It's also good for customer choice to be able to choose and have a diversity of products to choose from. And then for cannabis, there's even a stronger case compared to wine because cannabis is also medicine for a lot of people. And we have medical patients in California where dispensaries are banned, or just their local dispensary could care less about wellness products. So like myself, even, I get emails every day from people, with Parkinson's, MS, lupus, and such, who are interested in getting our wellness tinctures, but they have no access. They may be 6 hours drive away from. Oh, am I still here? I just got a notice about my internet. Am I here?
Yeah,
you're still good.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
Cool.
I have a question with your wellness tincture. Is that a THC based one? I've heard that THC 5 based tincture I've heard that's very good for Parkinson's and and such things. Have you found that true?
Well,
HCV.
THCV, yeah, B.
THCV, well, THCV has a whole, well, people don't really even know exactly what it does. Supposedly for some diabetes, it may be good for metabolism. But then a lot of this is just total, we're in kind of like shaman era, where you just have to go try it and see if it helps. So a lot of people are reporting for like migraines, also people with attention challenges and such. The THCV just can really help them focus. But there's also the whole concept of THCV being an appetite suppressant. I don't get ravenous munchies, but I still feel like eating when I consume. So I think that's been massively overinflated, the claims that it just like
A little bit exaggerated.
massively. Yeah, it's kind of like the new diet pill. So just eat THCV gummies all day long and you'll somehow lose weight or something. It's just, it's totally being oversold and people calling it diet weed and such. I don't see that that hasn't been my experience. I don't get ravenous munchies, but if I'm hungry, yeah, food tastes awesome. But
Tell us about your work, because you've done a lot of work with THCV cultivars. It was one of the things that we first connected on.
yeah, well, and just want to say on the wellness too, a lot of what we work on is raw cannabinoids. So big believer in like raw THCA and CBDA, and also THCVA is a really, really interesting effect. And so people with like autoimmune and inflammation and pain issues have really found the raw cannabinoids are awesome. Plus, you don't get stoned.
Well, yeah, like especially if you're getting those big doses, it could be a lot for anybody. Especially like the THCA allows you to medicate higher amounts of the cannabinoid without getting like super stoned. Yeah.
It's kind of THCA, you can kind of 10 times your dose with THCA. So if like with THC, if you start flipping out at 10 milligrams of THC, that's uncomfortable for you as far as psychedelically, then you can probably take 100 milligrams of THCA and feel like you're about at 10 milligrams of THC. But it's not just less stone, you get this whole different body relaxation, almost feels like you just got massaged and acupuncture and sat in a sauna, like all that super relaxing thing. And yeah, it's weird. I can't say specifically people because but recently I've actually been working with professional athletes who just through a weird chain of events we came in contact with. But because I'm kind of used to working with sick people and older people and frail, fragile people and helping them with their wellness because they have a health crisis. But now I'm working with some of the most in shape, most fit, extreme athlete people, and what they're reporting to me is they are loving cannabis, especially after a game or whatever their athletic thing is, for relaxing and unwinding. And it's almost like getting a really amazing massage, and they just really have found that to be really therapeutic. Plus a lot of athletes, once they get in their 30s, their bodies are already getting pretty beat up. They've had surgeries and such, so they're dealing with a lot of pain management, and they don't like, pain pills tend to kind of dull them mentally a little bit, and they like to be real sharp. So cannabis is really, we've heard about all the athletes who are very pro cannabis, but I've now had direct experience with a number of folks, and yeah, they really appreciate what it's doing. So it's kind of cool seeing it's not just sick people who are benefiting from this cannabis medicine. It's some of the most in shape, healthy, physically fit people are loving it too, and finding it a much better alternative to pharmaceuticals. But and wanted to follow up on the direct to consumer shipping. So anyway, I think you got the logic of, yeah, it pretty much everyone agrees. Small family homestead farmers who are doing things, especially sustainably, regeneratively, that's just cool. And if you're able to make a living and support a family and doing it out in the middle of fucking nowhere where it's in a pristine environment, that's awesome. And so if you're a customer who wants to tap into that vibe, but you're living in LA right now, it's, you know, it's impossible. How do you connect? And we have this beautiful thing, the internet. So if you can put up your website that tells the story of your farm, actually tracks, you know, the plants, like how they grow, and you can see them. And then that customer in LA who's like, oh man, on the weekends, they may drive out of town to Joshua Tree or something to get out there because they just like escaping the city, or they just want something a little more natural. Now, all of a sudden, they'd be able to connect with that farmer who is living that lifestyle. And then that customer gets to consume that cannabis directly from the farmer, support that farmer for doing their craft and keeping it pure, you know, and not selling out and all that. And that just seems to be a beautiful way of connecting people all throughout the state, and then supporting craft farming as opposed to industrial, corporate, mass-produced, high-yielding crap, which is turning out, everyone seems to agree, the quality of the weed is going to shit. Like every year it's getting worse. And then we're getting diseases and all this stuff too. So it's like industrial cannabis. Those are two words that just aren't meant to go together. It's a craft. It's an art form. It's a way of life. And so anyway, everyone seems to appreciate that. So we're starting to connect with like actual California legislators, senators, political types who are sympathetic, and really think it's going to turn into a grassroots movement. The weird thing is that there's a lot of opposition from folks who want to monopolize the entire industry. It's kind of like the kids on the playground who just want to steal all the toys and pile them up in a pile and not let anyone else play with them. It's more of a pathology than an actual business plan. And so the reality is, any really healthy, mature industry will have a mass-produced segment, will have a craft segment, and they all kind of complement each other, because if small craft farmers are allowed to ship directly to customers, that's a lifeline to them so they don't go extinct. And then if small craft farmers are thriving and doing well, they'll also be able to work with a lot more dispensaries and be able to get that high quality craft cannabis to dispensaries. And in reality, the dispensaries may actually see more customers coming back to them if they know they're going to have really high vibing craft cannabis as an offering. So short term, it may be counterintuitive for, you know, the retailers who want to, again, own every toy on the playground, but for sustainability, it's it's important to have a whole ecosystem in the financial different segments of the market, and craft, just like with wine, beer, craft distillers, it's an important part of the entire ecosystem. And so they should actually not fight it and kind of honor. The reality is the legacy craft farmers are who fought to get this legal in the first place. So they should honor those farmers and be cool with them being allowed to direct ship. It's not going to put dispensaries out of business. Bevmo is not going out of business because some small wineries are shipping bottles of wine around the state. So anyway, hopefully we can all get along, and that hopefully we can get some retailers to actually say, yes, we support this for the greater good of the cannabis community. That would be so cool. But we'll see. So that's what we're working on direct to consumer shipping. But I'm an optimist, but I kind of feel like it's a right idea, and it needs to happen. And I have a feeling it's going to happen, at least here in California. And that can be a template for other states, and then nationwide, and goes on and on. Anyway.
That's awesome, man. So tell us about your cultivation methods. You're talking about how you love to grow organically and regeneratively. We're both big fans of that, and both do KNF as well as soil food web practices, and among others. Tell us a bit about your grow style.
Well, the thing I've gotten really excited about and have been implementing the last few years is just hugelkultur. Just the concept of using, I mean, there's so many different styles of hugelkultur, but the basic foundation of it, at least for what we're doing, is using wood chips and tree parts and burying those in the native soil, and then just watching the mycelium just start exploding from there. So at this Boy Scout camp property that we're developing, one of the first things we had to do is, because of well, one, we had a lot of down trees and a lot of hazard trees, but then also for fire management, we do have to have defensible space. Like, you have to get those trees away from your buildings, otherwise, yeah. If you're like, I don't want to kill a tree, I'm going to save this tree. If a fire comes through, that tree is going to burn, but now also your building's going to burn. So what we do to sort of ethically, morally, and put those if we have to take out a tree, we then put it to use, and we bury all the branches and such. But we also did just get a chipper, like a Vermeer, big, pretty good sized chipper, and we just throw those trees through there, get a big old pile of especially oak and madrone wood chips. And then we've just found when we bury those and mix those with the soil, and we're also doing like about a 2 to 3 inch layer of oak wood chips on the surface as a mulch, and then we water down through using drip all through that mulch, and almost immediately the mycelium starts to, we try and let the chips sit for a year so it breaks down a little bit and the mycelium's already going. And then once we add that into our gardens, it's like compost tea 24/7, just that mycelium and all the nutrients and everything. And then the mulch we found also works as a really good barrier against thrips and aphids, and kind of breaks the larvae, pupae, egg cycle where a lot of these pests have to get down in the soil to do their thing. So that's the main foundation that we work with. And then to get things kick-started with nutrient, we actually, I mean, it's debatable what manure, if if you use manures, but we had a horse farm or boarding place that, and she's a kind of a hippy dippy organic lady, so they don't use any like fly spray or crap like that. And so she gave us access to their horse manure pile that was like a giant pyramid of like 20 years of horse manure. And we dug deep into like the center core of that and just was hauling out truckload after truckload of that manure. And her husband, it's kind of interesting, her husband, he passed away, but he was actually breeding red wriggler worms with their horse manure, so that was one of his hobbies. And so all the horse manure on that property is so inoculated with worms, like you'll just dig into it and it just explodes with worms. And she was just very happy in a way. It sounds weird, but it's like, that was like her husband. She doesn't kill worms if she sees them on the path or anything. She picks them up and puts them aside because it's kind of like that's her husband now to her, a symbol of her husband now that he's gone. So anyway, she's very protective and she was very stoked to know that we appreciated the worms, her husband's worms that he had introduced there. And anyway, so that horse manure was the first initial foundation in trying to get some really good nitrogen going. So now we're just pretty much adding forest debris. Sorry, I got a dog excitement.
No worries.
You want to let him go run out real quick for a second? Got a little schnoodle. He's I never understood the concept of little fluffy dogs, like little white fluffy puppy dogs, but now I get it. They're like engineered to love you and they're so cool. But anyway, yeah, we still yeah, I'd like it, and we're sort of developing this. We're trying to now start adding in more pollinator or pollen producing plants to keep our lacewings and ladybugs and all of our beneficial insects around. But we're starting from scratch with this place. So and we're actually planted in the ground. Like we dug the holes out and then put food grade stainless steel gopher wire because we've got really bad gophers. So we have to keep them out. They'd kill everything. So we have this food grade stainless steel gopher wire that's a hippie guy here in Santa Cruz manufactures. And
have you had any luck with interspersing ground cherries or other nightshades? I've had pretty good luck with that down in San Diego, putting in kind of more ground cover type nightshades.
That would be, I haven't worked with those specifically. That's what one thing we were looking into was purslane. I don't know if you've seen purslane. It kind of it spreads real low. But what was your experience with the ground cherries and how did they?
Yeah, there was a plant called Cocona, I think it was. We got it through Baker Creek. I'm sure you can still get it through Baker Creek.
I grew those just in a veggie garden, not in the cannabis garden.
Yeah, so we grew those and ground cherries and just like a more creeping type tomato, and they seemed the plants that had those at the base of them, they didn't touch those at all. Like the histamine, because remember that those tomatoes and those ground cherries have a lot of histamine in the roots, so it sets them off and gives them and that's the same thing. If you go dig and start snapping up the roots, you'll get a histamine response pretty quickly. You'll get all eyes watery and your nose will get all runny, and
Oh, this
So,
was for the gophers, for keeping the gophers away?
yeah, in San Diego, it worked pretty well for me.
Ah, cool.
That was
Cool.
in Hamul that we were growing them.
Nice. Well, that's what, cool. Yeah. So we'll probably, but just to be for sure, because I've seen gophers take out 10-pound plants and it's,
Oh yeah.
and so we still have the gophers. And it's kind of funny that they do their little perimeter tunnel. They'll go all the way around, and then outside the cage, we're starting to plant. So like calendula, yarrow. I really love yarrow, like those, like anise and yarrow, and those small clustery flowers, sort of like carrot flowers and dill. I've just observed that lacewings really love that type of flower for some reason. At least that's where I always see like the native lacewings. When I spot them, they're usually hanging out on those flowers. So we're going to be, we're trying to incorporate those into our garden and just get more color and more, biodiversity going. But, so we started doing that in this garden, but we have a real small, lean and mean crew. So we've done it on a few of the boxes, but I think it was also becoming a challenge because then some of it grows up into the plant too, like yarrow, and some of the stuff starts getting tall too. So I think what we're going to do is have little just clusters throughout the garden that are just pure pollen generating plants and such, just so they're not as up in, like getting all up in the, because then when we're trying to work on the cannabis plants too, all of a sudden we're like stepping on our flowers. So I don't know, we're gonna let it get all jungly and such, but it's like only so many minutes in a day. But we have noticed, yeah, just as we've opened things up and gotten a little more biodiversity going there, that things are balancing out. When we first moved up there the first year, the thrips were just like biblical plagues. Like thrips are usually just annoying, but not risk of killing your plants. These things, they were like locusts when they showed up, man, like big plants. They were just coating on. It was like the plant had fleas just like bouncing off them, and we just could not figure out what to do about it. We did finally end up doing a bunch of mulch on the bottom, which sort of broke that cycle. And then luckily the type of thrip we have in our area, it's right as plants start going into flower, end of August, early September. It's just the thrip just disappear though. Just gone. It's just like their life cycle and the season, they just disappear. Thank God. But ever since we started doing the mulch and just sort of starting to get things a little more in balance, we just haven't seen as much pest. And luckily we actually have a native ladybug swarm on our property, like where they actually cluster, like the big globs of them. So if we get any aphids showing up, the ladybugs just come swarming in immediately. But we still do supplement with lacewings. I've really found lacewings to be very effective against aphids. So luckily, this will be our third year, I think, this year, that it's looking like we're not going to have to spray one single anything. Although there's a few plants that for some reason the thrips just the last few weeks got really excited about. But by the way, what we're doing right now is we're just spraying them with water with a hose 3 times a day. And thrips don't like water. And, or at least these ones don't. So they seem to be disappearing on their own, just spraying water on the plants. So that's good.
Yeah, in Thailand, we had some that were every time we get a good windstorm, it would like blow a cloud of them in, like you were saying.
What?
And they were one of the, what was that?
Thrips? Or
Yeah.
what? Oh, there's thrips in Thailand too, huh?
Oh yeah, they were unlike any I've ever seen before. But I mean, I threw everything in the kitchen sink at them, and we could get the numbers down to maybe 5% of what they were at, and at the the worst of it, but could never really get them to zero. They were just always around.
Well, and if you spray something, they just fly away because they can
Yeah,
fly.
that's it.
So it's not like an aphid. You spray it, if you do spray them, you just hit them. And usually if I spray for aphids, I'm using like an oil that suffocates them. So they can't go away, but with a thrip, you spray at them and they're just like, they fly away. And then once the coast is clear, they just fly back. Yeah, they're little fuckers.
Right. Have you found any interesting things in your learnings with natural farming or regenerative farming, or any cool tips or tricks that you want to pass along?
Oh, here's a really cool one that seems to be working. So rats have always been a challenge. Coming either chewing the base, like completely chewing the bark off the stalk of the plant, or we have some weird rats at my other place that actually, when the plants are in full flower, they'll go and chew the colas off, and then they take them back to their nest and like decorate their house with colas. So weird. So it's like this weird stoner rat tribe. But yeah, they climb all the way up the plant and chew the colas off and then drag them off. But at least, and that's annoying, but that's okay. That doesn't kill the plant. But the chewing the base of the plant, obviously some, and by the way, I don't know if you've seen this before, like some cannabis plants, if the bark gets chewed all the way around the base, the plant dies within a day, gone. But there's other cannabis plants that can get all the bark chewed off and it doesn't even phase them. So it's like the nutrient is being transported like deeper within the stalk than like the cambium layer in the bark. Have you ever seen that?
We had something kind of similar in Zim. We had the grasshoppers. You would eat the Cambrian layer off about a third to halfway up the plant, and then they would just kind of flop over. They kind of like rot for a little bit, and then it would flop over after a couple 2 or 3 days worth of weakening. It was really weird, but that was something that the only similar thing to that I've seen.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Maybe someone else has found this as well, but what I started doing this year was I take organic peppermint essential oil and put it on a cotton ball, and just all my plants once a week, I go and rub the peppermint oil around the base of the plant because rats hate peppermint. And so far so good. Have not had a single rat nibble on any of these plants, and we've got a pretty hardy rat population out at this farm on the property. I mean, they get into everything. So that way it just completely deters them. It's not, you're not, yeah. I've tried trapping rats. I put out the buckets that they'll fall in and drown. With the trapping, a lot of times, unfortunately, we'll end up trapping a bird, and it just sucks, and it doesn't really keep the rat necessarily off your plant. But now rubbing, I've been doing it really lightly, but sort of increasing, I guess, the potency each time. But I haven't seen any detrimental effect to the plant. It doesn't seem to bother the plant at all. But yeah, just so I take that little bottle of essential oil, put it on a cotton ball, and then just rub it really quick along the base of the plant. And so that's like, you know, like pouring diesel fuel on a burrito for us or something. You know, it's just like they don't even want to touch it. So in that way, rats aren't getting hurt, plants are doing fine, and it just seems kind of cool. It's just plants helping plants in a way. And yeah, so that's kind of the exciting little innovation that we came up with. I don't know, maybe other people are doing that, but it just came as an idea. And so far, so good. It seems to be working. So I wouldn't, yeah. And now that, you know, at first I just did it on like 3 plants to see. I was scared it might affect the bark or something, or the plant absorbs it and the essential oil is too strong and like upsets the plant. But yeah, I haven't seen any negatives whatsoever. So who knows? Maybe that's a hot tip.
Yeah, no, I haven't tried peppermint oil. Tried plenty of other things. I've also noticed that it's worse on years where the drought's really high. They kind of look for green plants to get moisture from. And it seems
Yeah.
like it seems to always be much worse on those years.
And that's what, and we've tried to do the thing, like we put, you know, water out in dishes and such, like, oh, if we offer them water, then they won't touch our plant. But it seemed to be like, oh, cool, there's water. Oh, wow, cool. There's also these cool plants that you, so, and in some ways it was almost like, are we drawing the rats into our garden with these water dishes? But hopefully, in theory, rats hate peppermint or any of the mints. So just, and then we've noticed the smell though, but you have to reapply it every week, like once a week. But so far so good. We haven't had one single nibble, and we got a lot of juicy plants out there.
I think the trick is to run the high enough current through the water dish so that when they come to drink, it just handles itself.
That's true, but unfortunately the dish can't tell the difference between the bird and the lizard and everyone else who might come. And that's,
Oh yeah, I know.
yeah, I know. I wish there was a way to selectively get them, but yeah, I hear you.
There's a great guy, a great YouTube channel called like Mousetrap Monday, Town Woods, I think it is. That guy has like 1,000 different mousetraps, live catch and non-live catch, and like ancient remakes and stuff like that. It's a really interesting channel if you're ever looking for different types of solutions for all types of pest creatures, both you know, non-kill and kill versions. He's got pretty much everything if you ever want to see if something works.
Was
It's a
it
cool channel.
Mousetrap Monday?
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna look that up because we just had a rat get into one of our vehicles and actually chewed the air conditioning drain hose, did something with that. So now it started draining water into the cabin of the vehicle. So the carpet's sopping wet, and it's just, yeah, man, they get rats. They're so bad. they get in there. I've had them chew hydraulics on my tractors, and I guess it's been going on since the beginning of civilization, rats menacing people, but anyway.
It's like a cat deficiency.
Yeah, well, we have feral cats too, but I don't know, maybe we spoil them, but they're like, no, those rats are disgusting. We'd rather eat that kibble. So they, I don't know.
Freeloading.
Those rats could fight, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird though. I don't feel too bad. I mean, we do trap rats at different points and stuff, but I have seen where we've trapped a rat and then like another rat will come and eat his face of his traps. I don't know if they were friends before or not, but yeah, so I don't know. Rats are, they're weird.
California rat trap massacre.
Yeah. And then they have to like just crap and pee on everything too. So they're just gross. They're nasty. Anyway,
Right.
enough about rats. Anyway,
Well, I don't want to keep you all night. We've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes. I do appreciate your time.
cool. Oh, do you want to talk about THCV though?
Sure, yeah, let's talk about
'Cause I
that.
know you were into and by the way, you have some method. Are you ever going to disclose your THCV boosting method?
Yeah, I was talking to Wes about that. At some point, I think we'll go ahead and talk about that more freely. But yeah, there's a couple of different techniques that that you can do, at least hydroponically, and aquaponically, obviously, that you can do to improve THCV. But we've only tested it 3 or 4 times with one cultivar and haven't had a chance to. Well, not true. We did test it on a couple different cultivars, but we haven't had a chance to really flush it out with any THCV genetics. So it'd be interesting to kind of
Oh,
see if that changes it.
did we ever get you connected with some of the seeds that we had going?
No, I was bouncing around for a bit. It's something I wanted to talk to you about offline once after
Okay.
the show. Would be great.
Okay, cool.
But
Yeah, well, we got, without doing any cool tricks, just growing it in natural sun. Most of the phenos now, they test 5 to the very tippy top is 8% THCV, but most come in around 6-7%, and then the THC is at 10%. But the cool thing with the Free the V thing that we did a few years ago was also crossed into it the semi-auto trait. So, and that's not ruderalis autoflower, but it's light sensitive, the semi-auto using like the Middle Eastern varieties. So anyway, you can grow like 3 rounds outdoors if you wanted to in one season, with your first harvest, you know, being in June. And but it gets a really nice, chunky, modern looking flower. But it comes in, yeah, 6, 7, 8% THCV to 10% THC. And man, just a really, really cool sort of hot rod, super agile, fun to grow plant. Some of them still go a little more African leaning and will have like a 10-week flower. But some of them, yeah, get it all done like in 8.5 weeks. And real nice. Yeah, and the smoke's cool, but yeah, with THCV, I don't know what your experience is. It's like you get stoned, you get psychedelic, but it just kind of like surgically removes the confusion segment of the stone. So it's like, you're like, weird, I feel stoned and I'm thinking abstract thoughts and creative, but I know exactly where my car keys are and I could actually do like math and accounting work. Right? So it's a very bizarre effect that, yeah, you can be stoned, but also really laser focused.
I hadn't noticed the clarity on it, but I did notice it had a very like nerve calming effect, like much more of like a body I don't even, I don't want to say it, not like an indica in like a body couch lock kind of thing, but in like calm the nervous system kind of thing, almost in a way like Benadryl does or something like that, to like make your nervous system kind of relax and like jittery or anxiety kind of like relaxing, I guess, for
Okay.
lack of a better.
Well, this with the smoking, yeah, we also make a tincture with it. And with the tincture, you know, with edible type situation, you can go higher with doses and get a whole new set of effects. But with the THCV tincture we do, you have, like myself, and then I caution other people, like, be really careful about dosing too high. And it's not that the psychedelicness is too emotionally difficult to deal with. It's just physically, you can like get really jacked up, like your heart thumping and kind of sweating and just getting really you know, like drinking 5 Red Bull kind of vibe going on. So, but yeah, it's definitely a very interesting cannabinoid. And what was so frustrating was just you couldn't find it anywhere, and everyone had it on lockdown. Yeah, that was the motivation to sort of track it down, and actually found it in a lot of these land races in Africans. And actually old, do you know reefer man genetics, reefer man genetics? Like he
I
had,
think Wes is familiar with them, yes.
yeah, he had a strain called Willie Nelson. It wasn't anything, it wasn't Willie Nelson Reserve or Willie Reserve or branding, but I guess Willie Nelson had just bought like a pound off them at a cannabis show. So they just named it Willie Nelson. But that turned out that strain also, and I'm not exactly sure what the whole roots of those genetics were, but that already right off the bat had like 2% THCV. And then we just crossed it with some other stuff, and then crossed in the semi-auto trait. And just, it took about 5 generations, but we got it up to, yeah, where it's 5 to 8%, pretty much every pheno now. But
Nice.
anyway, so it'd be cool to see what happens if you pull some of your nifty tricks with it.
You said semi-auto trait there. How often does that show up?
It's, well, I found it specifically in Middle Eastern, so like Moroccan Beldia Kif or Keef, Beldia Kif plants have that. I just found in Iraqi plant landrace that has it. I mean, we harvested that, we popped the seeds in March and then harvested in early July. So it's basically, it just gets sexually mature. And if you want to veg them longer, you can put a light over it. I put it like a little solar, $5 solar spotlight over it, and that will keep it in veg. But if you let it just go natural any time of year, it will just go into flower. We actually call them 18-hour flower. That's a little more real, like describes what it is. So when the light's under 18 hours a day, it will just naturally go into flower. So it's like doing light depth, but with genetics. So we found, so Egyptian cyanide has that trait, Turkish hash plants do, the Iraqi has it. I work with an Iranian variety that consistently does that. And then the Moroccan and Syrian a little bit. It was a little later. Lebanese, some Lebanese also tend to do it. So, you know, they have different scales of how, but it's really important. It's not a fast flower. There's still like 8 or 9 week flower, but it just will do it any time of year if the light's under 18 hours. So you still get a full structured, complex flower. It's not rushing the flower production. It's just, but it will go any time of year. And I found when you cross that out into other strains that don't have that trait, a lot of times, probably 50% of the phenos will have it just off the F1, or they'll be exceptionally a lot earlier. And that way, because ruderalis, I'm not a tremendous fan of the ruderalis crosses. I just haven't found anything that's really grade A. I mean, eventually I guess it will get there, but you're kind of, with ruderalis, you're kind of locked into, now you're at the mercy of the clock that's ticking, and then they don't really do quite as well unless they have like 18 hour, the more light, the bigger they're going to get because they're running on that clock. But with the semi-auto, you kind of have the ultimate agility that you get a full mature flower, and then you can veg it as long as you want by just adding light. It's a lot easier to add supplemental light than pulling a tarp and light depping. So anyway, so yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I've just been experiencing that with a Congolese deep chunk that I'm growing right now. And it just kind of reached sexual maturity, and it's still under 18 hours light, and it's just started pushing pistils. No matter, yeah. And never experienced it. That it's definitely not an auto, but never experienced anything like that before. So I thought that was interesting that you brought that up.
Yeah, it's probably that deep chunk, and deep chunk is basically an Afghan heirloom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's probably somewhere deep in its genetics it has that connection. I'm actually growing some deep chunk this season, have some going, and it's looking really nice. Also pine tar kush. And those are both from Tom Hill, right?
That is correct.
I love Bob Hill. Tom Hill or Bob Hill? I'm sorry.
Tom
Hill.
Bob Hill.
Tom
Is it Tom Hill?
That's kind of the
Crickets.
sweet spot when you have like, I mean, my understanding is those are like landrace Afghans, but then with sort of California qualities selected on that, like worked a little bit, but I wish I knew the whole history, but I think they stayed pure like Afghans. They were just highly selected. Is that your understanding of those?
I don't know the deep trunk line.
Okay, well, I'm growing them. They look pretty much like an Afghan landrace, but just like sort of the primo. Like if you're gonna go pheno hunting through a whole Afghan landrace batch of seeds, it just looks like the primo, and these kind of stabilized like the primo for actual like flower smoking, where of course a lot of the Afghan was grown just for the hash, so it wasn't as flower oriented. But anyway, cool.
Yeah, I haven't. One other thing I have seen, when you take a plant from like 18 to 14 or 18 to 16 or 20 to 18, just that 2-hour difference or 3-hour difference can really make a big difference too.
Bolt it, yeah, like kick started into flower.
Yeah. The other thing I've noticed too is, especially CBD lines, if you run them 24 hours, they'll throw herm flowers. I've noticed the 24 hours stresses a lot of strains, especially like landrace stuff. It does not like it. But if you take that same cultivar and drop it to 16 hours, it doesn't show that trait at all. Like you can take clones off of it and it'll never herm, never show any traits. But you throw that back under 24 and it'll start throwing like individual nanners on the main stem. I've seen
Really?
that a couple times. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, because you were in Thailand, and
Yep.
I've heard this because that's equatorial. So so in Thailand they're pretty much 12-12 year round, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. It's maybe a difference of 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
The
So I've
extremes.
heard if you bring in like modern or Amsterdam weed or whatever, like skunk or whatever, it will start flowering almost immediately because it's at 12-12 year round. So
Yep.
if you're bringing in modern polyhybrids, you have to add supplemental lighting to keep them from flowering when they're just like 18 inches tall.
Yep. No, that's totally true. And it's easier to do that at nighttime. You just run them like 45 minutes at 9 p.m., midnight, and 3 a.m. You just
Yeah.
have the lights just kick on long enough to break that night up. And then when you switch them over and they have no light at night, it's a hard 12 hours a night and it just really slams them into flower nice and hard. And that seems to be the best strategy for growing. But yeah, the other thing too is anything broadleaf just melts in Thailand. Like if you don't put that under a good sunshade, like 50% sunshade, you know, you take anything broadleaf, it's just gonna get annihilated by the sun there. It's just not gonna happen.
Really? Well, and that's what's really interesting. So now I've got all these Thai and Cambodian equatorial Asian varieties. Um, so so we're getting, like 15 hours of light. And so they're maybe starting to consider going into flower right now, but they've just been vegging so hard because they seem confused. They're getting so much light that they're just charging. So pretty much all of our equatorial Asian plants, they're all over 10 feet tall and just huge. And do they in Thailand, do they actually get that big?
Oh yeah, the in fact I have some seeds here. I'm gonna bulk out, and then I have more coming too from Canada. But the temple Thai seeds, so there's these ones that would get to 20 feet tall, but under 12-12 before harvest.
Oh, real? And how long is the flower cycle in Thailand? Because some people have told me that in Thailand, it's not a 16-week flower. It's just 16 weeks when you bring it to like California because the light's so different. Or
No, I mean a lot of them have a I mean, you can go back and look at some of the videos that I have there, and some of those plants are 14 or 15 weeks, and we just gave up and said fuck with it and threw them in the yard, and they all got fried by the sun in 3 days. Because
oh,
you
even
know, we
and that was in Thailand.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Under we had them under sunshade in the greenhouse, but they just still hadn't finished after, and we had cycled everything else through twice, and it was like, okay, well, it's just taking up space at this point. They're not going to put on enough yield. None of them had any kind of enough of a unique smell to warrant that kind of, you know, continuation, for something that smells like lemonine, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, where's the like original Thai stick? Because I remember in the late 80s, early 90s, there was still Thai stick, and it was
Yeah, I didn't see.
phenomenal.
I saw Thai stick one time, and it was at the 420 celebration, and someone brought it, and it was like he had learned from someone there, and then recreated it with some Thai strains. But that was other than that. I mean, you don't see Thai stick at all. It's just not a
Was it
thing
good
anymore.
though? What you tried, was it good?
It was okay. I mean, it was regular old Thai sativa lemonine dominant. Anything in the rice fields is going to be pretty much like Ethan stuff, and anything in the rice paddy area is going to be pretty lemonine dominant in Thailand. And then when you get up into the mountains a little bit more, especially between like like north of Phetchabun headed towards Chiang Mai and those mountains there's a lot more mango. And then when you get up to like Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai, there's some stuff that's more like sandalwood and sometimes like rose. And there was one up there too that had like clove notes, like a Jarum cigarette kind of vibe, and that was really interesting. And then the temple ties, which came from north of Karat, somewhere in the hills there. And those are peachy and totally different. Like they're very unique. They're very clearly like sativa landrace, but they're just gigantic, and I don't know. There's very clearly a very distinctly different genetic population than everything else.
Is that geographically near Cambodia? That area?
It's kind of between the middle of the country and the border. So it's kind of between like Phetchabun and Buriram. It's kind of north of Bangkok, northeast of Bangkok, maybe 4 or 5 hours.
Okay. Yeah, because yeah, these Cambodian ones have more of that either orange, like tangerine. It's not like lemon, but it's more mellow, like tangerine, but then sort of peach and strawberry, like soft, elegant fruit. And so with like a menthol thing going on as well. But anyway, yeah, I'd love to get out there traveling again. I'm gonna be landlocked for another few years here just because I've got so many things going on. But yeah, I'd love to. So right now, that's kind of like the traveling I get to do. I just grow plants from other parts of the world and kind of vicariously live through the plants. But yeah, I'm excited to get traveling. I've done a lot of traveling in like in Mexico, all parts of Mexico and those regions. But yeah, I haven't even been to Asia. So, but it's definitely on the list, and but it's gonna be kind of cool when I finally get there because now I've like experienced all these plants, and now it'll be like coming to the motherland. So anyway, that's exciting.
I definitely recommend to like going to Zimbabwe and Mozambique. It's a lot easy. Like, yeah, it's technically a little less kosher than maybe Thailand is to get good stuff, but go to a Rasta cafe and make some friends. You'll go see some grows pretty quick.
Nice. Well, sounds cool. It's right now I've committed to this. I'm so locked at my own farm right now, and that's the thing. It's so hard to like travel now just because but you know, it's one of those things. It's one of those little trade-offs. It's like, but if you create, you know, a reality where like every day is like really cool and exciting, then don't have the travel bug quite as much because I'm like thoroughly entertained just hanging out in our own little stoner bubble. But yeah, and especially now that like COVID's chilling out and everything, I'm excited to get traveling, getting that adventure bug again. So
Hopefully, they're trying to resurrect that again. It's election season.
Things are so weird. And have you been following that now the word is that cannabis may get rescheduled to Schedule 3?
I saw that. I was gonna mention that. I don't know. We'll see. It was just a recommendation, so they still have to decide what to do. So
Yeah,
now's your time to try and convince your congressman.
yeah, it's kind of sort of, I guess. Well, one thing that's interesting, Schedule 3, though, you are allowed to ship direct to people's houses. Like Amazon right now ships Schedule 3 prescription drugs, but then that would also mean everyone would have to get prescriptions. I don't know. It's so anyway, we have a nice bubble here in California. Well, our system's all fucked up, but if we get direct to consumer shipping, then we might actually be on the way to actually really freeing this plant, celebrating the farmer, and just freeing it where it really, really ought to be. And you've seen it, you've traveled around a lot. I have friends from Nepal and such, and they're like, yeah, everyone grows cannabis in their backyard. We make salves and put it on our animals, you know, people smoke it. It's just like as common as tomato plants. It's like, it's no big deal. Even though it's actually illegal there, but I guess in some of the villages, at least they said, yeah, everyone was growing it.
In Thailand, I mean, you see it just on the side of the road in people's front yards and pots and in front of businesses. Like it's no big deal. It's pretty great.
Yeah. How's the scene in Thailand though? Just out of curiosity, is it have kind of the same corporate green rush weird?
It's got both. Right now they're kind of waiting on the regulations, so that always dependent on the elections. So now they've gone through that growing pain, and then now they're trying to figure out what they want to do. But for now, it's a free for all. No, there's no tax. So you know, there's a flood of people that grew it thinking they were going to get rich. Their stuff is just low quality, but there's no catch mechanism for it. Where like in most markets, you have the resin, like the extract industry and the edible industry and the concentrate industry that can suck up all that lower quality stuff and at least like turn it into something. You know what I mean? That they can still pay the farmer. And there's just none of that. So people are just sitting on like huge quantities of low quality crap. And that's the current state. And then there's a very tiny minority of people growing like actually really good stuff that's hitting the dispos, and then the rest of it's just meh. And they're charging like everywhere from 15 to 25, even $35 a gram, sometimes in the touristy areas.
Wow. Weird.
When I first got there, we went to Khao San Road and a couple other places in Bangkok, and I think I filmed or took pictures of just about every state's little logo. People had just shipped over stuff that had expired or like didn't pass testing, or they were sitting on product. It just shipped to Thailand. That
Oh,
was a
from
huge
the
problem in the
United,
beginning.
from the US?
Yeah, from the US. Yeah, there's still a ton of imported weed. In fact,
I
not even like a month ago or a month and a half ago, I had a kid give me like giant thing of weed, and it was like very clearly like 1 to 2 year old or older backpacked Cali weed, and I was like, this isn't fresh at all. This is old as fuck. I can smell it. Like, come on, man. Like, the fuck? You gotta tell me this isn't Cali weed? Like, nobody's sitting on weed this quality in Thailand for 2 years. Like, get the fuck up out of here.
I've heard through the grapevine that a lot of California weeds ending up in Thailand.
Oh yeah. I think more so in the beginning than it is now, because now there's actually some good Thai growers growing fire. But I mean, there's still a vacuum there though, because most of the weed sucks, you know.
Huh. Weird. Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah, I'm just excited for when things just kind of normalize and just goes back to being just a normal part of our arsenal of what you grow at your family farm out in your backyard, and just trade it to people just like you do zucchinis and peaches and tomatoes. And yeah, so hopefully we're getting there, and psychedelics and everything and plant medicines will become a normal reality again for everybody.
Alrighty, and you guys can check him out over at Jade Nectar on Instagram and jadenectar.com. JADENECTAR.com. Just to make sure you guys, if you're listening to the show and just joining us late, that you can find our wonderful guest today. And the quick thing with website as well. Make sure you get to the right place. jadenectar.com.
Yeah, that's what we do. And by the way, for any people new, like new states just coming online, there will be maybe a choice to be made, you know, do you take on investors and try and build your empire and get all this venture capital and buy all this equipment and all this crap? Or do you want to just be like the local hummus or salsa dude who just serves your local community, and you know, and you're only in like 15 or 20 health food stores locally, but everybody, you know, loves what you're doing. And from what I've witnessed in cannabis is the folks who go big and take on investment or get loans and such, I end up, I haven't seen a whole lot of really happy stories there, but I have seen people who just stay small and just want to serve their local community and just create the highest quality, highest vibing product they can, just like the local hummus or salsa dude at the health food stores. But for the first few years where everything's really crazy volatile, that might be a path worth looking into and taking, and a lot less stress and a lot less toxic lawsuits and a lot less working your ass off and then having predatory investors end up taking over your company because things didn't pencil out the way you thought. So anyway, just keep seeing. Are you seeing this in other states too, like the same green rush kind of thing going on?
Yeah, I mean, 70% of dispensaries and cannabis companies fail after 2 years in new markets. That's just kind of the way of things. And it mostly has to do with a combination of a lot of people thinking it's a get rich quick scheme, a lot of people that have no fucking idea how to grow weed or sell weed or market weed or do like agriculture at all. Like I met a guy that he had been a mortgage writer and decided he was going to grow weed. So he took like one of his cattle fields, just like drilled holes for 3,000 plants across 4 acres, and then was hand watering and like silly shit like that. Like, are you crazy? Like, what are you doing?
Oh, we
like,
grew it. Now where are we going to dry it? I guess we should have thought about that. Where do we dry?
yeah. No drying building. Like basically like a lawnmower shed for the cloning room and moms. Like just like total, and the head grower there, like he hired would wake up at like 10 or 11 a.m. and like, and it was like, how are you farming and waking up in the middle of the day? Like, it's Oklahoma. It's 100 and fuck degrees out at this point. Like, you should be done at this point. Like, we start at 2 a.m. and we're done at 11 o'clock. So we don't have to work when it's 112. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. It's it's interesting, but yeah, I really hope that the moral of this story is that the small sort of, don't necessarily want to say hippie because that don't have to be hippie, but the small, just nature loving, mindful farmers who are just trying to create, not about being big and being fucking whatever empire leader, conquester, or whatever the heck these crazy megalomaniac dreams are, but just having, if the small farmers can just do their beautiful high vibe and craft and get that out to their local community and then just slowly spread and evolve over time, if things work out and get bigger, then great. But man, channel that tortoise energy take it slow and easy and enjoy the ride, because man, for new states coming online, there's a lot of hype, but it gets ugly real fast when things don't pencil out. So yeah, just hope there's some farmers who out there who just really love the experience of farming, and that seems to be the path to go in cannabis world, at least. Anyway,
That and diversity of products. Don't have one product. Don't just sell flour and pre-rolls. Sell other things.
hey, but my wedding cake's better than everyone else's wedding cake.
Yeah. And stop growing the flavor of the month. Grow something that's good and unique and fire, and you'll sell more.
All right.
Alrighty.
Well, cool. Yeah, it was a pleasure hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Well, I'll shoot you an invite to. We have another show too, which is like more of a sit around and bullshit show. We'll have to get you on there sometime too on Wednesdays.
Okay, cool. Well, I hope
um,
to cross paths with you in person sometime, maybe even in Thailand.
yeah, at some point here in the next 3 to 6 months, one of my trips back and forth here, I'll definitely have to hit California for a couple of reasons. So I'll try to meet up.
Oh yeah, if you're in Santa Cruz area, yeah, definitely let me know.
Well, I always, every time I get out the airport at San Fran, I head over to the Castro Castle and hang out with Wayne and all them. So I don't know if you're friends with them, but
Who's that?
hop, skip, and jump. Wayne Justman is a
Don't
good
know.
friend of mine. Oh, okay. Yeah, part of the Dennis Perone group up there and all them. So in San Fran.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, they're good friends. Anyways, thanks a lot for joining us. You guys can find him again at Jade Nectar on Instagram and jadenectar.com. Appreciate all that you're doing for the community with the THCV as well.
Cool. Yeah, it's been fun, and hopefully we find some people who can really benefit from it. That's the exciting stuff. So anyway, all right, should we click the red X in the corner of our screens?
Oh, here, and 1 second here. Wes, how do people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Oh man, best way is Instagram. Everyone knows how to get me on Instagram. That's good, man. I don't need to promote anything. That's awesome. Thank you, though. It was awesome. It was awesome having you here, Jade. It's cool talking to you. I really enjoyed your enthusiasm about the plant. Yeah, you can tell you're a true lover and a keeper of the plant.
Cool. Well, thank you. Well, it's cool hanging out with you guys.
And you guys can find me at Ponics and all the things. You can find this episode in audio format as well on all the platforms. Probably tomorrow when I finishes uploading. The show should be back more to the normal weekly schedule. My life is settling down a little bit. We might have 1 week off when I go grab my dogs. I gotta go travel for that couple of days, but other than that, it should be back to normal schedule. We have some cool guests lined up for you guys, so yeah, expect some more awesome content. Thanks everybody, and